All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining again. We have a special guest this morning, Yong Kang Chan, author of Parent Yourself Again. Yong Kang, thanks for joining us. You want to give us your location and maybe a little bit of your background history?
Okay, I'm from Singapore. I've been writing 6 books. I have written 6 books already. I wrote books about self-compassion and mindfulness, and now I'm starting on my new series, which is the spiritual love series. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
That's a
good.
short introduction.
Yeah, busy man, busy man. That's okay. Um, I just finished Parent Yourself Again, and at the recommendation of another YouTube creator, Jerry Wise, and um, your book fit perfectly in with Margaret Paul's Inner Body book, which I just finished just before yours. So both are fantastic introductions to the inner child, inner parent relationship concept, and they both do a great job of showing us how to connect to the inner parent, inner child. So you begin the book with a quote from Ram Dass, and I love this. If you think you're enlightened, go and spend a week with your parents. The same is true for self-compassion. If you want to know whether you love yourself or not, go live with your parents. And I would love to hear why that quote and that comment why was that important to start the book with that?
Because I think a lot of our belief and our worldviews are developed and created when we are as a child and with our interaction with our parents. And sometimes when those belief of a feeling of unworthiness and unloved is through our interaction with our parents, not necessarily because they have done something to bad towards you. It could be a misinterpretation that as a child we didn't know what the adult world is like, and we perceive meaning based on our age at that time. So a lot of things believe we have accumulated over the years.
Yeah.
And when we are with our parents, this thing gets triggered because like our parents, no matter how old you are, our parents will still see you as a child in their eyes. So they the way they treat you might be different from the way they treat their friends or your your and their colleagues. And there was one particular quote that one particular saying that somebody mentioned in one of the debate show I watched recently is that when you are born, you know your parents as your parents. You have never known your parents before their parents. So you don't know their history, you don't know who they are before they become parents. Once you're born, they are your parents already. So the relationship between your parents has always been a parent and child relationship. And for some of the parents, they didn't they are not able to manage to change their relationship with you. They still treat you as a child. So whenever you're with them, the same behavioral patterns will keep coming again until someone, either you or them, realize and change the dynamics of the relationship.
Yeah, and we're gonna get more into how to change that, but I like to think of there's like a financial guru in the United States called Dave Ramsey, and he calls it something similar called diaper syndrome. He said if they ever change your diapers, they will never take advice from you, just because they can only see you as that person who they change diapers for. That's good. That's good. So for listeners who may not have like heard of this before, can you briefly explain the inner child and inner parent relationship and why it's so important to understand?
Okay. Inner child and inner parent relationship is just a concept. Like in psychology, they call it like sub-personality. You could have different
Sub-personalities?
sub-personalities, smaller personalities that is not that doesn't rule that doesn't dominate your main psyche, but you may hear some voices that you not normally hear, like for example, okay, if not, you all probably have watched this kind of like cartoon, like the old classic cartoon like Tom and Jerry, where they have like the angel and the devil, and both of them are like talking to your ear and convincing you which one is more correct. So in our mind, there's also different voices. So in my book, I group the children part of us, those voices that relates more to us when we are a child, and as a child, I call them inner child. So in the group of inner child, there could be the creative inner child, there could be the inner child that throws the tantrums, and like the inner child that get upset very easily. I group them all as inner child. And inner parents is just a way for me to say all those voices that we receive from our parents. Like when our parents like teach us something, like a certain belief, like, okay, let's say like, man, you're not supposed, you're a boy, you're a man, you're not supposed to cry. And this belief may be adopted to you, and where you feel like you're having tears and you want to cry, but you have a voice that's going in your head to tell you not to cry. This is what I call inner parents, the voices that we have like adopted and get influenced by our parents.
I love what I was just reading some more this morning, and I love this one part where you wrote, and I'm just paraphrasing here, but if we got an incorrect message as kids that, whatever, we were, stand up straight, don't eat your food like that, and you get those messages constantly, and you start to, as a child, you don't know to not think that, okay, I just need to stand up straight. But as a child, you think, oh, I'm doing bad all the time. So you start to get that core belief of, I'm a bad person. And I forget what you said, but it was something along the lines of, we don't have anyone else to tell us that what we're learning or what we're hearing is not really about us, is not true about us. And I think that's, I really like that part that I read this morning. The inner child, inner parent is not like, it's not mainstream psychology stuff, but I know for me, it's been very impactful, like more impactful than a year's worth of just weekly couch therapy. Why do you think it's not popular? And I feel like it addresses the core issues, and a lot of therapy addresses symptoms. Why is that?
Because this concept, like the psychology, all of these concepts are merely concept. There is no tangible to identify this is your inner child, this voice is your inner child, and this voice is your inner parents. It's a lot has got to do with self-awareness and self-reflection. It's not like a hard science where you can have data and facts to back you up. So it used to be popular like maybe a decade or 2 decades ago. It used to be more popular. I also don't know why it kind of like subsided over the years.
Like fashion maybe goes in and then back out.
But what I think is that whatever tool you use, if it's effective for you, then use it. Like it doesn't. You can call it the inner child, inner parent. You can call it like the family system. Some people call it the family system. Whatever you want to call it, as long as you are able to help you in a certain way, and you know how to use it to help you in a certain way, then it's helpful for you. So it doesn't matter like whether it's popular or not popular.
I think I'm very biased towards it because it's just been so helpful to me. So I think it's, to me, it seems like the right way to teach things. But, like you say, there's there's many different ways to invest money and make money, and there's many different ways to, I don't know, bake a cake. So it's similar with this stuff. You also say I like this. The relationship with your parents will not change until we change. Can you explain more about that?
It's very interesting that my relationship with my parents, like I still feel that they are somewhat like like 10 or 20 years ago. But my relationship with my parents have changed because I have changed my perspective towards that. When you have conflict or disagreement, or your parents say something that hurts you and you hold it in your heart and you form resentment, then whenever you perceive your parents, whenever you're with your parents, you have this type of resentment that is not resolved, that is still within your mind, within your psyche, that you will see them as I wouldn't say a bad person, but you wouldn't feel as good to be around them because of this unresolved issue that you have. But once you resolve all these issue in yourself, suddenly your perception of them changes. And when your perception of them changes, like maybe you treat them you treat them more kindly, you treat them with more compassion. And when you treat somebody with more compassion, somehow they will treat you with more compassion. So it's like a effect that when you are good to other people will be good to you. But if you are holding resentment for someone, then the way you interact with them will always be like not to the best that it could be. So that's why I say that it's important to change your perception of yourself. And also, in addition, you really can't change another person. So if you are trying to change the other person, you're doing it wrongly already, because other people has the freedom to do whatever they want. Like if a person want to go left, you can't tell them to go right. Like they just want to go left. So like changing other people is so much harder than like doing self-help and doing your own growth.
Yeah. And I think it's so hard for us to let go of that. I mean, so many of us think we can somehow, change other people. If they'll just listen to me, then they'll change, and they'll get it right. That's good. Thank you for that. In a lot on my YouTube channel, I talk about moving to Puerto Rico, but I also express to the viewers and listeners to move here for the right reasons. And I was recently taught that, if you leave somewhere to maybe get away from your family, whatever, because you don't like them or whatever, you'll find that yes, you've created a geographic distance, but your family is still only 6 inches away from your heart. They're still right there. And one thing you say is you can leave your parents, but you will not resolve your problems. Are those, can you go a little deeper into that? Are those kind of similar ideas?
Yeah, it's similar ideas that your inner, when I say inner parents, is your perception of your parents and whatever belief that you adopted from them is inside your mind. So you could leave them physically, but mentally they are still within your psyche. So if you don't resolve that, then you'll carry this wherever you go, even you move to another country, it's still inside. So yeah, so it is important to resolve this. And also the problem when you have problems with your parents, right? A lot of time is you are repeating the problems in your head, especially those things that happens in the past that you can't let go of. You keep repeating on your head. Your parents might not even be physically with you, and you can still have the problem. You can still upset for the things that they have done like 10 years ago, 5 years ago. So geographically, physically is never the problem until you have resolved this. Then wherever you go, there will not be a problem.
Yeah, they'll be right there with you. Yeah, it's and I don't think it's a reason to not move, I think it's something to be aware of, that just because you move doesn't mean you're gonna, fix that issue. That's good. I don't, for myself, it took me so long to be vulnerable and to open up to safe people and people I wanted to trust about, sharing my traumatic childhood. One of the fears was the response of, oh, you just need to get over it, which is, a very dismissive and minimizing response. For someone who's trying to maybe even just be honest with themselves, or be honest with others and share things, what advice do you have for anyone who may be struggling with thinking that may be the response they get? Like, oh, you just need to get over your childhood.
The first thing would be to have some discernment on who you talk with, because not everybody is like a therapist. They may not know how to handle when you talk about the deep emotional stuff in your childhood, right? Because your deep emotional stuff will trigger emotion in them, and they might not know how to handle their own emotion at the same time. So, and so it's easier for them to not empathize and not understand, because that will have some separation between the emotion that is coming to them that they are feeling and they don't know how to handle it. So the first thing is to have discernment. Like, you want to talk to somebody who may have this experience before, or you want to talk to somebody who have empathy and will not judge you
Yeah.
what you share. And also, before you talk to the person, maybe you want to do some preempt, like you want to ask them, like, okay, I want to have some issue with my childhood, and I would like to share it with you. Could you just be a witness or a listener? And I don't need you to fix my problem. I just want you to listen and acknowledge um, uh, my story. Yeah. So you have to ask other people permission. When you ask other people permission, you give them a choice to whether they want to do it. So they
Yeah.
don't come off guard. Like if you suddenly just, okay, I want to like talk about my childhood, then of course when they don't have to respond, the most easy response is to just get over a childhood. Like that's the easiest response when people don't know how to respond. And also, yeah. Mm.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. I think having a safe person, having that discernment and having someone is safe is really, really important. Because I think when you first start opening up, because you're just kind of testing,
Mm.
and it's very new for people who haven't, been honest or vulnerable before. It's a very new thing, and you want that to go well. So I think maybe even, just having a therapist would be a good idea, or some friend or someone that is very, very safe and is going to be
Yeah.
accepting of.
Also, because like a therapist, they would be scared. They are trained to do this. While your friends might not be trained to do this. They might not know how to do it. Yeah. And also, what I forgot the point that I want to mention just now is that
Sure.
your intention must be clear. Like, what are you approaching your friend for? Because if you don't state your intention, if you're not clear with your intention, and if you don't state your intention clearly, the other person might not know. They might want to try and fix. If you are just asking for validation, you don't go to another person and ask them, can I have advice? Because they will give you advice and you will not like it and you will not adopt it. And this will not only you will not get what you want, the other person will also feel frustrated with you. Like, I'm giving you advice and why are you not taking, because
Yeah.
what you want validation. So you have to be very clear what you want to achieve from this conversation.
That's good. That's really important. I think because a lot of us naturally just want to fix things. We see a problem, we're presented with it, and we want to, offer solutions. So yeah, that's really good advice. let them know what you're hoping to receive out of that. Now, why is resentment towards our inner parent a common occurrence for those of us who may have problem asserting the needs of an inner child?
If within yourself you have an inner child and inner parents, and your inner child has been trying to tell you their needs, whether through subtle ways like certain emotion or like a desire. And if you suppress your inner child and suppress the desire and the emotion, then over time your inner child will not get to speak. And the only subpersonality that is dominating in your psyche will be your inner parents. And for a long period of time, if you do this, then it's not healthy for the inner child, because the inner child needs doesn't get met. And there you will develop a sense of resentment because the need wasn't met, the need wasn't heard, the need wasn't seen. So it is, in my book, I talk about the balance and control, right? So the inner parents need to step down their power and allow the inner child to speak to them. If not, if there is a imbalance, then the needs doesn't get met and the issue doesn't get resolved. It's only when you listen to your inner child and you get to know what needs that you might have since as a child, which isn't met, that you are trying to meet through other ways like addiction, through addiction, or through other behavior or relationship patterns. Yeah, and it, for someone who suppress their inner child, usually they tend to be the people who are not very assertive.
Yeah.
Because they have needs, but they are unable to exert their needs, unable to speak up their needs. So that's why clearing this up will resolve the resentment that you possibly have for not being assertive, because you're not able to exert to your inner parents is the same as you're not able to exert to other people, right? So doing the work within yourself will improve a relationship with other people.
Yeah. I think that's very true. Like the more because I think, would you say that, when you start working on the inner child and inner parent stuff, you're kind of being more honest with yourself too, and that kind of translates to your other relationships.
Yes. And you can't ignore the inner child, because that is part of you also. It's part of self-personality. Of course, I forgot to mention this in the beginning, that there is a lot of voices, even more than the inner child and the inner parents. There could be a lot of self-personality. And just like the Tom and Jerry cartoon, like you have devil telling you something, the angel telling you something, but ultimately you are the one who choose which voice you want to listen to. So you could be like in a boardroom of a lot of different voices, a lot of different, I like to say different TV channels. And you get to choose which one you want to watch, which one you want to tune in. So inner child represents one voice and inner parent represents another voice. What's the best way is to listen to both voices and decide on your own, like which one do you want to follow, instead of just ignore a voice, because you can ignore it for a while, but you will still keep coming in other subtle ways that may not serve you. Like coming through the back door is even worse than if you just listen and deal with it and reconcile it in the moment.
Yeah, that's good. You also talk about our standards remaining the same as an adult as when we were like a child. What are some things people who had, abusive, critical, or controlling parents struggle with when it comes to, having standards, and what can they do to start to change?
when you have abusive parents, right, your standard, your version of relationship may be that when you're in a relationship, people will treat you bad. Like,
Yeah.
that might be the standard, and you might not know of the better standard. So because if you are from a childhood, you have been exposed to this type of standard, you might doesn't know that there's another standard exists in the world. Like people could be kind, people could be compassionate. You could be treated like with compassion, with love also. So if for people who are facing this trouble, what they could do is to find a role model who someone who is self-compassion, like, and see like what kind of habits, what kind of behavior they do, and try to I would say model after them for a while, because since you're not taught this way, so now as an adult you have to find your own ways to teach yourself what does a loving person, what does a compassionate person behave like, what kind of habits do they have. Yeah, it's important to be exposed to this
That's
habits.
good. Self-compassion is so important, so important. That's a good coverage of your book. Anything else you want the viewers to know about, parenting themselves again? I like, this is our second time recording, but I like what you talked about the last time, how go over what you did again in the chapter about forgiving your parents and some of the feedback you've gotten on that.
For my book, that Parent Yourself Again,
Yes.
there's one common feedback that I get from people who have a more abusive or more traumatic childhood. Because for my own personal experience, I didn't experience abuse when I was a child. For me, it's more emotional neglect. It's that it's a bit different. Emotional neglect is when your parents didn't do things for you, while abuse is when somebody do something on to you. So I always feel that something is missing, like some love is missing from my lifestyle. Some like I as I grow up, I still have this type of like the child feeling of like whatever relationship I go to is like something missing. A lot of readers who come from the abusive or more dysfunctional family, they will say that the forgive your parents, they can agree with everything but accept the chapter of forgive your parents, because what they think that forgive your parents means that you're forgiving the physical parents, the parents your real parents. But what I meant in the book is actually the inner parents, the parents that is residing in your head. So what you want is to resolve this voice that's inside your head that is always pushing your inner child down, like not addressing the needs, not listening to the needs. What we want to forgive is what this book is all about is healing with your your psyche, healing whatever issue you have within yourself, and perhaps your relationship with your parents might get better. This book has nothing to do with the external world. It's more of the internal work that we have to do. And yeah, so for people who are abused, they say that they can't forgive the things that their parents done to do to them. And I'm not asking them to forgive their physical parents, but I'm asking them to clear whatever issues they have inside, and not keep them from feeling peaceful, because you could be hating or be angry with your parents, but your parents might not have might not be like affected by any of your hate. It's all within yourself. All the hatred, what it brings is it doesn't bring any inner peace. So whether you forgive your parents or whether you reconcile with your parents, what you want to do is to have inner peace within yourself. Yeah.
Is it
And
the that voice, that inner critic, is a reflection of maybe what we heard, as a child. So forgive that voice is kind of what you're saying. True?
Inner critic could be one of the inner parents. If you have a critical parents growing up, so you may have a critical voice within you. And how do you reconcile with this critical voice? I have one book that talks about that. But you would have to tell the critical voice, I know you meant well, but could you save it in a better tone? And this might not work with your real parents, but within your own mind, it could work. It could work because you do have some influence over what your mind thinks.
That's good. That's good. Thank you for that. Anything, tell us about your other books and anything else you want the viewers to know, how they can contact you and find your material out there.
Okay, first they can contact me or they can look for more blog posts about codependency, about loving yourself, self-compassion on my website called nerdycreator.com. That is NERDYCREATOR.com.
I'll put a link to that in the description.
Yeah. Then to give a short introduction of all my books I've written so far, just written 6 books. Okay, the first book is Fearless Passion. Is about encouraging you to pursue your passion, to have the courage to pursue your passion. This is the first book. It talks about my journey from being an accountant to an animator. And then came the second book, which is a memoir, which is the depression. After I tried to become an animator and I feared, like, who am I? Like, this book talks about my spiritual awakening, like how I changed after I don't take career as part of my identity. And this book started because I would say that this book is the book that causes me to become a full-time writer, to pursue this path. Then after that, I have 3 books, which is part of the self-compassion series. The third book is Empty Your Cup. Empty Your Cup is about people who have low self-esteem. Like we try to improve ourselves and fix ourselves, like we are broken. But I think that is the wrong issue for low self-esteem. Low self-esteem is when you have your perception of self. So if you have low self-esteem, that means you are not perceiving yourself like worthy and you're perceiving yourself negatively. So instead of working on ourselves and growing ourselves, which is important, but this book talks about changing the perception of ourselves from the perception of mind to our spirit. Then this book is just now what I talk about, the Tom and Jerry, the inner critic talking to your ear, like you have the angel and the devil talking to you. So this book is about building the habit of not believing every thought in your mind. Okay. Then the 5th book is also the last book of the self-compassion series, is what we have talked about today, which is Parent Yourself Again. And now I'm starting my new series. The first book of this new series is Reconnect to Love. This book is about loneliness, and it's about healing our issues in our heart and feeling more connected with not just ourselves, and also with other people and the world.
Excellent. I think a lot of us can use that right now when we're locked up feeling lonely. Yong Kang, thanks so much for joining me today, and I hope everyone got a lot of value. Go find him out on the internet, buy the book, and hopefully we'll catch up with you again another time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the interview. Thank you.